Hey guys, thanks for joining me on my channel again in this video. Name's Kirk. In this video it's going to be kind of a follow-up from the last one, which was the landscape basics, where I went over creating a landscape and give a brief description on the landscaping tools. In this one I'm going to freehand a little environment in which I can use throughout this channel. I'm just going to freehand it. I'd recommend using reference photos if you're going to create your own landscape, until you get a bit of experience behind you in which you feel comfortable just freehanding. But yeah, we're going to use the Landmass plugin in this video, and we're going to use the landscaping tools, and we're going to create a little environment in which we can further along our YouTube journey, where I will be creating an automatic landscape material. Be using procedural foliage volumes, using the foliage tool. I'm also going to do videos on spawning foliage based on your automatic landscape material, and doing a water shader, just to name a few. There'll be plenty more like volumetric fog and things and all that jazz. But like I say, in this video it's just we're going to create a little environment just using the Landmass plugin and landscape editing tools. There'll be no shaders involved in this video, just like I say, just creating an environment. So if you've not seen the last a few videos ago where I show you how to do the plugins, you just simply go to the top left, click on edit, and come down to plugins, click on plugins, make sure all plugins is selected, and simply type in the search menu bar thing, Landmass. As you can see, the Landmass plugin then appears. You would need to tick the box. It will ask you to restart your engine, in which you will need to do to use the Landmass plugin. Yeah, so once you restart the engine, it will compile shaders, or it may not. I'm not 100%, but most likely will do. I'd recommend waiting for them shaders to compile and wait for your engine to fully open and compile the shaders in the engine as well. So if you haven't got the plugin, pause the video, restart your engine, and resume the video once you have compiled all your shaders. If you have already got the plugin and you've been following along my journey on the channel, we'll get straight into it. So we're going to press Shift 2 to bring up the landscaping mode. As you can see, like previous videos, you have the landscaping thing here. I'm just trying to think of a size. I think this size might be okay for what we're going to do. Maybe 109, 1009, 1009. Let's have a look at that. Is that going to be too big? Yeah, I'm going to keep it at 505. 505. If you're unsure about the landscape sizes, there is documentation on it, which is here, what you can see. It's called the Landscape Technical Guide. It's on the Unreal Engine documentation. I'll leave a link in the description. This is very useful when doing landscapes. It'll show you about target layers and things like that. This is very interesting. I'll be doing a tutorial on that in later videos. But for now, yeah, landscape sizes 109. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to use 1009 because it's a half decent size and we will need it. 1009. Leave it like this for now while we edit it. And then we're just going to make sure enable edit layers is enabled so the plugin will work, and click create, and there we go, we have a landscape ready to use. So what we are going to do first is quickly, how should we do this? Let's navigate to where the Landmass plugin is. So in sculpt mode, here in the toolbox you'll see sculpt. Click on the blueprint tab, and this will enable the edit layers section. What I'm going to do is simply click on that layer, press F2 on my keyboard, and rename this to base layer. and I'm going to try with on the blueprint brush here. You'll see the drop down menu. Click on that. These are all the tools you can use from the Landmass plugin. What I'm going to try first, because I know this is a bit buggy with me, is the custom brush material only. What this does is you would simply click on the brush like I just did, find a spot on the landscape and click on the landscape. And what this does is creates an uneven ground on the landscape. But like I say, for me, for some reason, this really does not work for me. I'm not sure if it's anything I'm doing wrong, I'm missing something. I've tried to compile both the Landmass brush manager and the custom brush itself. Sometimes if you just compile them, it'll redo the landscape, the brush for you. So I'm just going to lower that. I'm just going to quickly try this. So yeah, see, it's not working for me. For some reason, this never really works for me. If you know why this isn't working, please leave it in the comments below and I can rectify that. But I use the same approach using the other tools in this plugin. But that never seems to work for me. So what I'm just going to do is delete that. Just click yes. It'll get rid of that. What I am going to do now is click the drop down menu again and just use custom brush landmass. And what this is going to do is create the pyramid like thing. So there you have a pyramid like point in your landscape, and we are going to transform this into a big mountain. So what I've done basically is chose the custom brush, the landmass one, and simply clicked on the landscape, and that has appeared. I'll try my best to describe what I'm doing, but if I am going too fast, you could always slow the video down. So on the right hand side we have the brush settings. I am going to leave all this for now, and we will need the fall off. I'll quickly describe what the fall off does. It's just basically the degrees of the angle of the brush itself. You can cap the shape. What this does is just removes the point from the top of it, and then you can simply move it up and down. The Z offset, not 100% what that does. Oh, there you go. The Z offset just changes the height compared to the spline, as you can see there. And then, not sure what this does. Let's just keep raising this, see what it does. And there you go. It's just spreading it out. Edge width offset. I'm going to change them back to default. This, what does this do? Fall off width. Just leave that, it's doing nothing. So you have a fall off angle. This obviously changed the angle of the brush, as you can see. So if you're making like a top down game and you want it a bit steeper, you know, like this, you could just make little islands, a bit like League of Legends. You could do it this way. And then we're going to go down to the juicy stuff, which is this bit here. So you have blurring, curl noise, curves and displacement. I'm not going to go through them in detail like I would previously. I'm just going to use them to create my mountain, and hopefully you get to understand as I move along. So the most interesting part, the curl strength. This is what deforms the actual brush to give it a mountain-like effect. So as you can see, I'm just going to raise this up a bit. As you can see, it's actually deforming the splines, the tool, the brush if you like. You can change the tiling. Let's do this a little bit slower. You can see that shadow glitching effect, that's completely normal. And as you can see, it just gives it a bit of tiling like so. Or you can do the number 2 tiling, which actually moves it around based off a noise map. That's quite useful sometimes. I'm going to default that back to 5. I'm going to raise this up a bit like so. That looks half decent. I'm going to raise the spline, and I'm going to keep curling. The curl strength. Let's see. Oh, look at that. That's bloody weird. So it seems to me I'm going to have it like this. I'm going to have it like this a little bit. And what I am going to do is move the spline points now. As you can see, this is your main spline, and then you have additional splines like this in which you can click on and move. Generally 9 times out of 10 it actually does something. Oh, there you go. This spline obviously doesn't agree with me and oh, there you go. So I'm going to do this. If you find a line that connects the pivot points, you can right click when that 4-way cross thing comes up, the arrows, right click on it, add spline point here, and you can simply add more spline points. The more spline points you add and the wider you make it, the taller the actual brush gets. I'm going to click on that, add spline point there. I'm going to try and create some sort of mountain going on here. See, this kind of looks alright. You'll notice you cannot move it up and down with these additional splines. To actually move it up and down, just click away anywhere on that black space and then click back on the brush here itself to the left, and it will give you the master pivot point in which you can then move it up and down to your liking. But I am going to rotate it by pressing E on the keyboard and rotating like so. And I'm going to move it back to the corner like so, because I do like the look of this side. No, I don't. I'll do that. Just move this down a bit. Try and keep these level. These bloody spline points are annoying. Yeah, so let's see what we can do from here now. I'm going to move down to displacement. Oh no, that's the wrong one. I'm going to click on the displacement height. What this does is it adds an effect to the brush to make it look like rigid and displaced. I'm going to start with 500 and 1000, 2000. Doesn't look too bad. I'm going to, like I say, I'm going to get the master pivot, which is there. Roll this up a little bit more. Not sure I like it. Let's just click on this spline if I get there. Move this out a bit more. As you can see, I'm getting a bit of a lengthy look to it, but it looks very curved. 2000 displacement tiling. This just changes the tiling amount of the displacement map for the brush. You can see if I do that, it goes all kind of weirdy, crazy thing like an alien planet. I'm going to set this to 1, 2, 3, 5. We'll go 4, 3.5. There you go. That looks alright now. Yeah, I like that. So as you can see, I have some sort of mountain range-ish thing going on. So, and what I'm going to do from here now is create some bookmarks so I can view it, different angles. Say this is good. Left control on my keyboard and the number 1. I'm going to move over here a bit. Left control on the keyboard, number 2. Move it over here a little bit more. Left control on the keyboard and number 3. So I have 1, 2 and 3. And what I am going to do from here is show off the blending mode. Oh, that does. There you go. Alter threshold. That gives a bit of curve to the bottom of the landscape, and that's exactly what I'd like. Bottom of the mountain range. So you're looking at about 2000 there, and that'll give you a good curve. I'm not 100% sure what that inner curve is. 5000. This is just testing. There's nothing. Maybe that's when you invert. You can come to the top. You can invert shape, so it goes into the landscape. Like so. Well, that's just ugly. Might be good for some things. As you get used to it, you might find use for that. But for me, I'm just going to keep it like this: 1, 2, and 3. 1. Yeah, I like that blending at the bottom there. Okay, so I've got 1. I want to add more mountains over here. Like I say, I'm freehanding this, so I'm going to create kind of a lake here in this area here. I've got a good idea for doing that. So yeah, let's add another one, and it's simply, you don't have to go through all the rigmarole of that. You could just simply come over here, click on your master pivot, hold the left control on the keyboard and simply drag it using the axes. As you can see, it creates another one, but I want to rotate this one. I'm going to rotate it like this. Maybe that looks a bit too uniform. I'm going to do it like, I think is that too uniform? Yeah, it does look too uniform. Oh, it's a bit big that. Let me click on the other brush, and I'm going to raise this up more. Hopefully should keep its shape. Click on that spline, I'm going to move this out like so. Maybe this is a bit too big. Let's go one. It's a bit crazy, that one. Got the red. Oh, wrong way. Wrong way. Alright, okay, that's going a little bit crazy for me. Control Z, Control Z, and Control Z, and Control Z. Let's go to the master, and we're going to lower this back down again. Oh no, I'm going to just pull this one in, like so. I'll click on the master again. I'm going to raise it so I've only got that one. Let's go to 1. Yeah, it looks similar to what I am aiming for. Oh gosh. Okay, as you can see, this is affecting that mountain. Okay, so what blend mode is that? As you can see, this mountain is completely blended with that one, and that is the additive alpha blend. If I put additive, it just completely adds this mountain to that mountain. In some cases that would work. As you can see it just starts raising the other landscape, the other mountain up, and I don't want that. I want it to be alpha blended. You can also try and change the other ones, like minimum, which just inverts it, maximum, which keeps it like this, and it doesn't affect the height of the other one. But I think that is what alpha blend does. Yep, it does affect the other one, but it just reduces it down. What I am going to do, so it creates like kind of, yeah, I like that. I do like that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go here. As you can see, that mountain range looks left control and 4, because that's a bookmark. Sorry, I'm trying my best to talk while I freehand this, but yeah, I like the look of that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like the look of that. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 1, 2. Yeah, I like the look of this. Okay, so that's a couple of mountains that I've got. Yeah, so I'm now going to move over and use the sculpting tool. With the sculpting tool, I want to make the brush a little bit bigger. I'm going to make the lake right now. I'm going to increase the strength to 3 by clicking on it, and I'm just going to hold left shift on the keyboard and go plonk, and that is just going to indent. Now I want it to be a fairly big lake. Boom. I know this may look crazy what I'm doing now, but like I said at the beginning of the tutorial, this is going to be freehand. That kind of looks alright. What I'm going to work on now is reducing the strength, the size, and the fall off back to normal. I'm going to go to the smooth tool, which is at the top here. I'm just going to quickly go around the edging for now. And we will design this a little bit better. Just do this. Just do this freehand right now. Just create, looks like an eye, doesn't it? Okay, and then we're just going to hold left click down with the tool, just smooth off the edge. I know it looks a little weird at the minute, but I have got a plan. So I've got a bit of smoothing around the edge of that now. Yeah, I'm liking the look of that. What I'm going to do is left control and 4, left control and 5 for here, and I am going to try and freehand this a little bit. I'm going to use my flatten tool, which flattens based on the point I click on where the X is. And I'm just going to quickly go inside so I can have some depth to my lake, like so, like so. Oh, I'm crazy, and I'm going to do this like so, like so, like so. I'm just going to quickly drag these in a little bit because these are a little bit perfectly too round. Okay, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. I don't want it too symmetrical. Flatten this out and do this and that. Okay, the best brush to sort the edging out around here is probably the erosion tool, and what this does, it just creates some kind of crevice that's meant for erosion. If you look around the edges, I'm just gonna, it's going all crazy on me. You can see around the edges of the lake now is going to be like so, which is quite what I want. I'm going to just go in here a little bit. I don't want to perfectly round there. I'm going to increase the strength and lower the brush size and just come into here a little bit. This may look a little crazy what I'm doing, but this, like I said at the start, this is freehand. Raise the brush there, and I'm going to max strength it to get rid of this little bit here, and I'm just going to go inside. I just don't want this video to be too long as well, so I am just going to do this freehand like so. I'm sorry about all this talky-walky stuff I'm doing. Do this. I'm going to flatten that actually. So, erosion, there we go, just what I wanted. Erode a bit of this down as well. Erode, I want that strength to be a little bit, 1.5, you can't go too high with the strength of the erosion brush because it'll send it off crazy. Control and Z. Okay, so we'll keep that at max strength, that's the best we're getting out of it. Okay, let's bring this down a bit. We don't want to do a rough edge around all of the lake because lakes do have soft embankments, like so. Not too fussed about in the middle just now, but yeah, we're going to do this. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm liking the edge of this now already. 5. No, I don't want to work from up there, it'll just end up looking crap. Not like it looks great now, so yeah. But yeah, this is my kind of approach. If I'm freehanding, I just experiment with things and, you know, just have a good mess around with the tools. It's all about the tools. Let's increase this noise scale, and there you go. It's eating away at that landscape a bit more. Re-click that, I'm going to press left shift, I should raise. As you see, I have the noise mode on lower. If I put both, it'll then lower it. I'm not too fussed about the bottom of the lake, we don't need. I'm going to keep that on lower actually, because that was no, raise. I'm going to do this area here with raising it. It's not really doing it for me, that. So I'm going to lower it here again, and I'm going to use this bit of an edge in here to have maybe the water level being here at the top of this peak. I don't know, like I said, we'll see. It's freehand this, like I keep saying. Okay, so I'm going to make the brush smaller. Now I'm going to flatten tool. I'm going to pull this, flatten tool, strength. I'm going to pull this out a little bit, so I have something to work with underneath. Right, so I'm just going to pull this out here. It's just so I can sort the bottom out of it, the bottom of the lake out, and based on that scale, height. Sorry. There you go. So yeah, just showing the power of what the landscape tools can do, and especially this erosion tool. It's a really good tool to use. Right, so I'm going to smooth that off because that looks terrible. Right, so I'm going to smooth some edges off there and everywhere. Just get some a bit more interesting going. Okay, let's do this bit again. I kind of liked that. What I'm going to do here is use the ramp tool. There it is. The ramp tool is quite a decent tool. I'm going to click here, like so, at the top of the lake, and I'm going to click at the bottom of the lake. Let's raise that up a little bit, actually, move it inwards a bit more. And what this is going to do, simply I'm going to reduce that width. Reduce the fall off in a bit, and you would simply click add ramp, and that adds a little ramp. Don't ask me why I've added this, because I'm not sure. I'm just adding a bit of a ramp, and you can simply just move that spline and click add ramp again. Let's add another one. Then we're going to go back to the erosion tool. I'm just going to roll this away a bit. Like so. And these bumps, you see what I did with the flatten tool? I did that so I can just do this. And what that's doing is, when you look underneath the water, there's going to be bumps, and I don't like these bit of bumpy bits here, but if I just go over these dead quick, like so, and this is gonna be like a lake bottom. In upcoming videos there will be a material where we can paint on the landscape, and I'm probably going to use like an underwater material for this. But yeah, I don't want to spend too long doing this lake. Let's go to the side of it with this erosion tool. Do this. I'm going to do it across like that as well. Okay, so that is a bit of a lake. Yeah, so I've got a bit of a mountain area, like so, a bit of a lake, and I'm thinking let's add some hills in here. Let's have a look here like this. New camera bookmarks, Control and 1, Control and 2, Control and 3, Control and 4. I'm going to get one right over here. Control and 5. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which can move around. I've got my lake there. Like I say, it's just rough. Let's get back on that erosion tool and sort this bit out. What else did I say I was going to sort out? Yeah, these bumps there. Let's get on that flatten tool. Sort this out here. There you go. I know it looks crappy, but once it's submerged underwater, you won't notice a thing. Yeah, and then I'm going to go on the smooth tool and smooth out everything I've just done. Oh no, that's not. That's a flatten tool still. Doesn't matter. There you go. Rough copy, rough copy. Okay, so if you're actually watching this, I may speed some of this up because you don't want to watch this. Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of a lake going for. Yeah, so I'm going to increase the size of my brush, decrease the fall off. I'm going to put the strength to 5, click enter, and I am going to use the sculpt tool, and I want to add some hills like around like so. I'm just going to do this roughly. Do this. That's probably a bit too much of a hill. I'm just going to do this like so. Just showcasing what you can do with a sculpt brush. Let's probably a little bit too crazy. So what I'm going to do is just left shift, and this is what left shift and click, and it will actually deform the landscape. I'm trying my best not to go on my amazing lake. Okay, just tap in there and just tap in here with a left shift held down. That's probably massively deep, that hole. No, it's not. I'm sure this one is here. I don't want holes like that, but we'll get around to them in a minute. I'm just going to left click here, and hold left shift and left click back on it. And what this does, it just deforms the environment. So in which I'm going to click one on here, and I'm going to click here. The best tool now, what you want to use to work off this deformity, is the flatten tool. Sorry about that noise, that's probably someone joining the Discord. There is a Discord available. I'm currently in a Discord of a fellow, I'm not going to say YouTuber because I'm not a YouTuber, but someone else who has a YouTube channel. I'm an admin in his Discord, and you're free to come and join. The link will be in the description. So moving on. So like I was saying, the flatten tool is a good tool to use. I'm going to set it back to 1. I'm going to reduce the size. It's a bit too small. I'm going to increase that size. And what I'm going to do is just work on deforming this landscape. So I am going to start in here and just put the flatten tool in here like so. And we're just going to deform this a little bit. And this is, if you're free-handed on landscape, this is probably your best bet in doing things. I know it looks crazy, but there is method to this madness. Yeah, as you'll see, I've done this many times. I've created decent scenes out of doing this kind of way. Oh, there we go. I'm going to fill that in. Yeah, I'm going to fill this in as well like this. I'm going to do it like here. I'm going to do it like here. Now, okay, so I feel at the minute this is alright for an absolute starting point of the scene. I don't want to go on a 5-hour YouTube video going over everything, but what I am going to do, which I would highly recommend you to do, see what I've done here with this lake. Oh, I'm missing a hill here actually. Let's reduce the size of this. Sorry, I'm getting carried away. Go on the sculpt tool. I'm just going to fire up a bit here like this. And do this here. You might hear my mouse through the microphone. Right, so Okay, and I'm just going to smoothen that back out again, like so. Then I'll brush a bit bigger. Okay, let's go over this a bit, because you don't want it completely flatter in certain areas. Okay, let's have a look and get this involved with a smooth tool. Okay, right, so I've got a semi-ish landscape going on here. What I would do now, personally, if I was going into great depths, I would default these sizes and I would use the erosion tool. Make sure you got a default on your strength, you don't want that craziness from before, and then just start eroding round these little bit of hills. Just start this erosion off like this, and what this is going to do is it'll create some details in your landscape, like so. Yeah, do this. You could just multi and just keep it in one area like this, and it will affect it. As you can see, just make some crevices in your landscape, like so. There we go. I feel like I sounded weird doing that. There you go. Look at that. Yeah. And then you just got to have a play around with a flatten tool and just go over a few bits like this. Let's get on the edges, the hills. I'm going to keep that slope, but I am going to try and get in there with this flatten tool like so. There we go. Do this, and what I'm actually going to do now, as you can see, I know if you've been trying to follow along, it might not have worked out very well, because I do move quite fast, as you've got to move fast when working in pressure, if you like. I'm actually going to speed the video up and go over this with just the erosion tool. I'm not going to use, I may use other tools, but I'm going to speed this video up quite a bit and try and cover a bit more of this landscape. And with this, I know it looks a bit weird at the minute, but once you get a landscape material on it, it'll completely change the look and feel of it. Let's get this erosion tool on this. You have to be careful. Can you see that ridge now that I've created, and I'll control Z? Yeah, that basically with this landmass tool, it's created a layer on your landscape. So when you come to deform your actual landscape with the landscape brushes, it creates an extra layer on top of the brush. So it'll create that. You see where the lines have come up with the extra layer, like so. It'll just create an extra layer. And if you think, oh well, I'll just go over it, you can keep clicking on it and it keeps creating that extra layer each time. So Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. So try and stay away. That's why I stayed away from the landscape brush. Let's get this flat tool going here. Not flat tool, the erosion tool. Keep in mind you can use the hydro tool as well. It's always a good one to use. It creates, see that crevice in the crink. Yeah. So you got the hydro tool as well. You could use it here. It'll give you a nice effect. Just creates like a bit of a valley gap. What is that? There you go. Some random hole. Yeah, and then just go back to the erosion tool and just start going crazy on your landscape, like so. Yeah. But yeah, so like I said, I'm going to speed this video up. Sorry, I'm getting a bit carried away. I'm going to speed this video up and keep this. Give this landscape a bit more detail. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, welcome back. As you can see, I've just briefly gone around the landscape and just created what may at the minute look a bit weird. But like I say, once a landscape material gets on it, like I will be doing in the next video, this will look a lot better, especially when you use a sloped especially when we used a slope material. It will be based off the slope, like the angle, there'll be distant tiling, and try playing a projection for the mountains. And you know, this is just the landscape I'm gonna keep using for tutorials on this YouTube channel. So yeah, I hope you followed along the best you can. If you liked what you've seen and you like how I try my best to describe tools, I'm not a teacher after all. Hills look a little curvy, but you know, there are details that can be touched up in future. If you're seeing that blue haze like all around here, that's because of the distance. Oh, before we move on, let's structure this by creating a folder. Remember I said right from the start of my channel, keep organised. But this blue haze you can see is the exponential height fog. If you see, I'll lower this down, you can see it goes. These are things that you cover towards the end of creating this scene. I'll do that for now. Yeah, so hopefully you like what you've seen, and we're going to try our best to work with what we've got here. I'm getting loads of ideas in my head. So yeah, hit the like button, share the video, subscribe and ring the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you, Kirk. Oh wait there, Captain Kirk signing out.